We're going to talk about some matrix multiplication, and this is probably going to be one of the more complicated things that we do in this unit. And notice that the directions say just to simplify and to write undefined for expressions that are undefined, which means that there may be some questions you actually cannot do. There are some rules for multiplication, and let's start by just looking at those. All right, we've got a matrix 1 here. So it's matrix A and a matrix B. Let's say that matrix A's dimensions and B's are known. Here's what's got to happen. The columns of let's start over. The columns of matrix A have to be the same as the number of rows in matrix B, or you cannot multiply them together. So here's an example. A 3 by 2 and a 2 by 2. You can multiply those together because the columns of matrix A are the same as the rows of matrix B. I'll split this around. Can you multiply a 2 by 2 and a 3 by 2? Actually, no, because the columns don't match this row number. So let's say that the columns and the row numbers are matching. The rows from column A and the the rows from matrix A and the column number from matrix B will be the size of the answer. So A times B, if these were the matrices, it would be a 3 by 2. This one we can't even do, so it doesn't really even matter. All right, so that's what we're going to do on all of these is we're going to start by looking at what the dimensions are and just figuring out what the answer is going to be. So if A is a 2 by 2 and B is a 2 by 2, do the columns from A match the rows from B? Yes. So that means the answer is a 2 by 2. With a square matrix, we call this a square matrix because the rows and the columns are the same. You can always multiply two identical square matrices. So two 2 by 2s, two 3 by 3s, two 4 by 4s, etc. You can always multiply those together. All right. Here's another matrix A and another matrix B. Let's see what's going to happen. This is a 2 by 2. And matrix B is a 2 by 3. Do the columns match the rows? Absolutely. So the answer would be, or will be, a 2 by 3. All right, let's look at this one down here. This is a 1 by 3, and B is a 3 by 2. Already looks good. These are matching, so our answer is a 1 by 2. All right, we're just talking about the size of the answer matrix. We haven't done the multiplication yet, okay? We're just kind of doing the preview work here. So let's look at these here. This is a 3 by 2. And this matrix is a 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1. What do you think? Nope. Can't multiply these. So this is that undefined question right here. So we won't even worry about doing this one. We've already done it. It's not even possible. Okay, so here we go. Change colors. When you multiply matrices, this is what I want you to think about. We multiply matrices by multiplying rows by columns. Rows times columns. Okay, and we know the answer matrix is already a 2 by 2. So I'm going to draw kind of a big matrix here. And we'll end up condensing it down here in a second. But 2 by 2 matrix has 4 elements, 2 rows and 2 columns. So what I want to do is I want you to remember we always multiply rows by columns. So what are the rows from matrix A? Row 1, and here's the second row. And I use the rows from the first matrix, and I use the columns from the second matrix. So the rows from the first, the columns from the second. I'm going to make some little roadmap kind of stuff over here. In this matrix, this is the first row and the first column, the element. Do you agree with that? This would be the first row and the second column. Down here, this is the second row and the first column. And this right here is the second row and the second column. So these almost look like little coordinates, but this tells you what to multiply together. That's why I like doing it like that. So for the first one, we're going to do row 1, all of row 1 times all of column 1. Alrighty, so here we go. You do 5 times negative 6. That's negative 30. We're going to add to that the product of the next element in that row and the next element in that column. So we did 5 times negative 6. Now we're going to do 1 times negative 2, and that is negative 2. So all of row 1 got multiplied by all of column 1, one element at a time. All right. Now over here it says this is the first row in the second column, so that means I need to multiply the first row times the second column in this matrix. So we're going to do the same thing again. The first element in the row times the first element in the column is negative 10. You add to that the product of the next element multiplied by the next element in that column. So we did 5 times negative 2. Now we're doing 1 times 5, and that's 5. Okay, so all of row 1 got multiplied by all of column 2, one element at a time. All right, moving on. This is row 2 and column 1. So now we're looking at this row, and we're back to this column. First row element times first column element. That is a negative 6 plus 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. All of row 2 got multiplied by all of column 1 because that's where that number is in the answer matrix. All right, then we're going to do row 2 times column 2, and that's the number that goes in this same location in the answer matrix, row 2 and column 2. First element in each, so 1 times negative 2 plus 1 times 5. Once we've gotten all that written down, what we need to do is just simplify. So add these together. That's negative 32. This should be a negative 5. Bottom left is negative 8. And this is a positive 3. Yes, I know this is a lot of work, but it's really not that bad once you get the hang of it. All right, let's do another one. Row 1, row 2. Remember, we multiply rows by columns. So this one is going to have dimensions of 2 by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my answer matrix of 2 by 3. 2 rows, 3 columns. 3 columns. Thought I'll say that backwards. All right, we're going to take turn with each row and each column. So I'm just going to label these where they are, so I know exactly what to multiply together. Okay, so row 1 times column 1. Row 1 times column 1. Alrighty, so negative 6 times 2 is 12 plus 4. So you move over to the next element and then move down to the next element. Negative 2, multiply those, you get negative 8. All right, I might just go ahead and write the nice version over here. It's getting a little messy already. Okay, row 1 times column 2. And you can go whatever order you want to go in, but you've just got to make sure you're multiplying the right things together to put them in the right location down here. All right, so negative 6 times negative 4 is positive 24 plus 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. That's going to reduce to a 12. One more. Row 1 times column 3. That's what I have to multiply for this element right here. So negative 6 times negative 3 is 18 plus 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. So that will be a negative 2. And we've got the answer matrix, the first row, already completed. All right, one more row. So now we're looking at row 2. So we'll do row 2 times column 1. That's where we are in the answer matrix. So negative 5. There we go. All right, so negative 5 times negative 2 is 10. We're going to add to that negative 5 times another negative 2, which is a positive 10 again, so that's 20. All right, now let's multiply row 2 times column 2. Negative 5 times negative 4 is 20, plus negative 5 times negative 3 is 15. So that will be a 35. Last one, row 2, column 3. So negative 5 times negative 3 is 15, plus negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. So you add those together, you get 40. So there's your answer matrix for that. We do not have to do this next problem because it is undefined. It's impossible. But we do have one more, and I want to show you how to do this one because it's just different, and usually people will be feeling pretty good about doing the 2x2s. We start throwing these single dimensions out, and people seem to struggle a little bit. So on this problem here, we are multiplying rows by columns. So we need row 1, and then we need column 1 and column 2. Now this answer matrix is pretty tiny. It's got 1 row and 2 columns. There sure is a lot of stuff going on here, right? Well, let's see what happens. So this is row 1, column 1. This is row 1, column 2, and that's all we've got to multiply together. We're just going to have multiple things to add together. So all of row 1 gets multiplied by all of column 1. So here we have negative 4 times negative 5 is 20, plus, keep going to the next corresponding elements. In the rows and columns, negative 3 times negative 4 is 12. And we're not done yet, so we keep going. The last element in that row gets multiplied by the last element in that column, and we get another 12. So it looks like 20 and 24, I believe that's 44. Okay, now for this one, we've got to do row 1, column 2. So let's figure that out. Negative 4 times negative 3 is 12, plus negative 3 times negative 2 is 6, plus one more,